City of Focus has been in town for 25 years. Somebody asked me in an interview when I walked in, what is it? And I said, well, we're pretty much, we call ourselves, we care for the soul of the city. Now, if you're serious about homelessness, or you're serious about building your business, it's invariably done by networking. And you all would know, if you read about homelessness, that 75% of all social housing in British Columbia is provided by the Christian community. Salvation Army, UGM, just roll right through the city. Those are for the elderly and whatnot. And what we do in City of Focus is I used to run a VP of a construction company. I run a marketing company. I'm an ordained minister, which may mean that I'm a liability in this room. And someone says to me, well, what do you do in the city? I said, I do two things. I comfort the afflicted and I afflict the comfortable. And what I mean by that is we're constantly networking with individuals. One of my colleagues wrote an analysis of homelessness 5 years ago. It was read by another friend of mine who put together a foundation called Street to Home. It has just almost finished raising $26 million and leveraged with government and the bureaucracy and wealth, leveraged building 1,000 new units in this city. And half of them are already built, and the homeless people are moving into them. For me, it became personal years ago at my house when someone came up and was taking all the bottles off our deck with my son's permission, didn't know who it was, ended up meeting him. Name is Jim Shaw, lived at Winter's apartment down here on Abbott. We have become friends. I've known him for 7 years. We have coffee 2 or 3 times a year, and he has put a face on this whole issue of low-income housing and homelessness. So I want to say to all of you, don't just network for the purpose of advancement, network for the redemption and encouragement and being a good citizen. I want to leave you with one story that I heard many years ago that I think makes a lot of sense. And that was in the back mountains of Russia, there was this older monk who was making his way through the mountain passes late at night. And if you know anything about the mountain passes, they're very steep, they're very narrow, you have to have a light. And he's putting the light right by his feet as he walks, and it's getting dusk, and he realizes he better get there quickly, or he will freeze to death up in the mountains. And as he rounds a corner, he looks down, he sees a person has just passed him, almost bumps him off, walking very quickly. And he lets that person pass him, and he watches him, and as he watches this guy about 15 minutes later around a corner, he stops, looks down, and then keeps walking. This monk, about 15 minutes later, gets there, and he finds that a gentleman has been exhausted, so he was on the ground. So he said, as a monk, he couldn't let someone die, so he flips the person over his shoulder, and he has to walk he has to walk slower, but he starts walking, and in about 30 minutes, he sees the bright amber light of the inn in the mountain pass, and about the time he sees the light, his foot hits somebody, and down was the person on the ground, frozen to death, who had passed him about an hour earlier, and who had passed up caring for this person. And it dawned on this monk that the only reason this monk was alive was by putting the person over his shoulder, it had kept his body warm. Had he not cared for that person, he would have frozen to death. So all I'm saying to all of you is, you think you're doing them a favor. You're not doing them a favor. You're doing yourself a favor. And if you put that homeless person, or that needy person, or that handicapped person, or that mentally deranged person, or that person who's hungry, or any other issue, you put them over your shoulder for a while, it'll keep you warm, it'll change your life far more than theirs. God bless you.